Second half, I'm going to look at a few sightings over the last 5 or so years. We haven't got the time for me to go through the whole lot, but next month I'm going to look at a lot more sightings over the last 30-40 years in this area. But tonight I'll just go through a few. 26th of December 2009. Are you all familiar with the village called Bryn? Talbot, yeah. On the way to my stake. This is Boxing Day, and a guy called David was he'd just been to visit his mother in my stake with his family, and he was returning home to Pontarddulais at about 4 p.m. He'd just gone through Bryn village, and he was approached just before he drops down towards Carmarthen. Snowing. It was snowing at the time. He's got his wife Nicola in the car and a 5-year-old daughter. And they were heading west, and they just passed through Bryn, and it was just starting to go dark. And in the snow, he saw a bright blood red orb flying south to north through the falling snow. So we got Bryn. Bryn's here. There's the road dropping down to Carmarthen. He just stopped there, and he saw this bright red orb. Did I say north to south? Yeah, keep it professional. South to north. South to north. I was getting those two mixed up. Let's go that way. Bright red orb. Okay. He pulled the car over by a farm road on the side, and he got out of the car for a better look. And he was so amazed, he rang his mother, as you do. And his mother answered the phone, and she's 4 miles away in my stake, remember, okay? And he said, I'm looking at this red orb. And his mother thought that he was talking about the red orb that she was looking at that moment. There was another one in my stake at the same time, which is an interesting one. So the object then just went up into the clouds and disappeared. So that was Boxing Day 2009. Following spring, 6th of March, Pendine Sands, Carmarthenshire. A fellow called Jack Gears was with his wife, and he explained it in his own words. I was standing on my balcony looking out at sea towards the Bristol Channel over the Pendine main beachfront. I observed a huge orange ball over the sea. I then took my powerful binoculars, and I can assure any reader that through the binoculars I followed the orange ball of what I can call fire, firstly in a stop position above the horizon, slowly start to move towards Pendine, and then it started to move upwards in a westerly direction and just poof, disappear. So red ball, orange ball. See the connection there?
That's the way they go.
Yeah. So that was 6th of March. 11th of May, Llanelli, 9 p.m. Witness called S. Jones says, I went out the kitchen and saw an orange ball zigzagging through the sky. I ran outside and saw it was very fast, and the horizontal and vertical movements it was making were impossible for any conventional aircraft, and then it shot off towards Binia. Uh, 5th of July, same year, 2010, a huge orange light flew over Kittle at 1:20 in the morning, witnessed by brothers Alex and Nick Brown. Alex reported, me and my brother both witnessed a UFO at approximately 1:20. I was downstairs, and then this hovering noise and slight vibrations came from the distance. The house was vibrating, and then all of a sudden a very loud noise came above and lasted there for at least 45 seconds, which seemed very fast for a plane. Unfortunately, I was downstairs and ran to the window, but it was above us, so I could not see from the angle. But then my brother, who had been in the shower at the time, ran downstairs and shouted, "Did you see that?" He must have seen it out the windows. He said that he had witnessed an orange light pass over our house very slowly. It then slowly hovered over the Bishopston Valley and disappeared. It was definitely not a plane, as there are no major airports nearby. We've lived here for 10 years now and have never heard a plane at night. Whatever it was, it looked way too big and sounded too big to be flying over our house at that speed for 45 seconds. It would have definitely fallen out of the sky. It was way too slow to be possibly flying at that sort of height. My brother is a pilot and knows his planes very well. He said that the UFO was bright orange and the orange light was not flashing. Planes have to have flashing lights when flying at night. Also, the light suddenly went out as it passed the valley. I don't know how to describe the sound I heard, but it was a huge hovering, circling sort of sound and very, very loud. And I recently got in touch with Nick Brown after much messaging back and forth, but it tends to be me sending the message out and nothing coming back. But he actually replied today and he's willing to interview him, for me to interview him about it. So that was the 5th of July, that was at 1:20 a.m. Same day, in Llanelli, but in the daytime. A witness who I don't know the name of, I found this on a website. I was in the kitchen one evening when I noticed a light out of the corner of my eye. I went outside for a better look. To my amazement, there hovering above a house, height 30 feet away, was an orange-yellow orb. I immediately ran to get digital camera. When I went back outside, it started doing very strange flying up and down, left, right, then came back to hover in the same place. I lifted the camera and the camera shut down. It's unfortunate. Which I found odd as they were new batteries. Then a police helicopter appeared right next to it with red and blue lights flashing, and the UFO went nuts. It flew in a way that no aircraft made by man could ever do. Up sharp rights and lefts in such a way and at such speed that I immediately knew that it was not from this planet, as any human would have been killed if they were in it. It then went straight for the police helicopter, which took evasive action, or the orb would have crashed into it. It then shot off towards the Gower to the south. So that was in Llanelli. Later that night, on Sunday, 10 p.m, Phil Evans was camping with his partner and a friend on his farm's land on the heritage course between Southern and Nash Point. Do you know it? You know it? They saw a bright orange-white ball travelling up the Bristol Channel eastwards towards the Glamorgan coast at an altitude which he compared to being about 2 to 3 times the height of the cliffs of Minehead across the channel. When it was roughly between Ilfracombe and Minehead, it changed its direction of travel instantly by 90 degrees, turning south and shooting off towards Exmoor National Park, travelling at least 4 times the cruising speed at which it had come up the channel. He said, we have a military base, trading base at St Athan, which means that he sees fast jets occasionally. So he was used to seeing jets, so this was no way was it a jet, especially with a 90-degree instant turn. And there was no sound or flashing navigation lights associated with the object. And it displayed a consistent glow at both observable directions of travel. I've been in touch with this guy as well, and he's a photographer. So I've asked him to go to the location where he saw it in the daytime, take a picture, and then ask him if he could do a graphic superimposed onto it so he can have a good idea of what he saw. So there's a 3 interesting sightings all in the same day, on the 5th of July 2010. Okay, right, recognize that? Gower. Llanelli at Kittle and Nash Point. That was at 1:20 a.m. That's sometime during the day, don't know what time, and that was at 10 o'clock at night. All over an orange ball. Following day, back in Llanelli again, same person that saw it the previous night. The next day I bought new batteries just in case it came back. And at 10:30 that night it did. But this time it was 10 feet off the ground above my back garden. I grabbed my camera, but again it powered off. The orb stayed still for about 5 minutes and shot straight up, gone from sight. So obviously he returned to finish what he was doing before he was disturbed by the police helicopter. Following month, 2nd of July, no, I missed that one. 16th of August, sorry. Following month, yeah. 4 AM, Britain Ferry. This isn't actually an orange orb, but it was a good, quite a good sighting at the time. I won't read it all out; it's too long. But the lady was asleep in bed, and her son called her about 2 o'clock in the morning. She said, "Come see this, come see this." And she went out in the back garden, and there were 2 what she called saucers, sort of like domes with a flat bottom, hovering above the garden, about a couple of hundred feet up. And they slowly went over the house in Britain Ferry and went off over the mountain towards Tonlow direction. Right? And they hovered over the mountain for a while. And then she went back to bed.
As you do.
As you do, yeah. She couldn't get back to sleep, and then the son called her again, "Come see this," and she got back up, and there was another one over the garden. And the strange thing about it was she got the camera out to photograph them, and the batteries went flat. Unfortunate. Following month, 26th of September. A young girl and a boyfriend were in Dunvant, and they were outside having a cigarette, and they saw something in the sky. At first it appeared to be a plane on fire falling out of the sky, but then it got closer and right over the houses. It wasn't that high, but it was down low in the sky and was the size of around 5 jumbo jets put together. It didn't make a noise, but was right over the house, and the light was so bright it was like the sun. This made it impossible to photograph it because it flooded the camera with light. There were lights all around the edge of it, shooting off colours. It went over, and then a second one appeared further up and hovered for a bit. There were planes all around it, and one appeared to go up close and then either disappeared or went into it. There were several of us there to see it, 3 adults and 4 boys from the street. The boys said they had seen it the night before as well, but no one had believed them. Everyone was stone cold sober, and we're not the type of people to ever have thought UFOs existed. And somebody said then the underbelly of it looked a bit like a lit up jellyfish, and it drifted off over towards Gower and out of sight. So that was in Dunvant, did I say? Bit of change of the subject slightly. 2011, I haven't ascertained the date yet, but I don't know if you've heard about this. A farmer in Carmarthenshire told police that a spaceship abducted one of his sheep. The spaceship apparently beamed up a sheep from a field near Llanybydder. Newly released data shows that a caller to Dyfed-Powys Police claimed they had seen sheep being taken on board a UFO from a field in Llanybydder near Lampeter. Interestingly, Richard D. Hall is at the moment investigating the disappearance of 1,500 sheep from a field in Lincolnshire.
Richard, yes.
So maybe they were practicing in Wales taking one sheep, and there's 1,500 sheep in one field just disappeared in one night.
Time to leave some mint sauce out for that.
But it didn't make the news, though, did it?
And if you do freedom of information requests, you don't get.
No, you just get one answer.
Yeah.
I just slotted that in because I just looking on YouTube yesterday I saw Richard D. Hall talking about this 1,500 sheep.
He's got a new series starting too.
Is he? So on richplanet.com.
Yeah, starting.
Well, hopefully, you never know. He's living in Merthyr Tydfil now, so with Ben Emlyn Jones and Gary Heseltine coming down to see us next year, maybe you might encourage, we could ask Richard to come.
He's got a
he hasn't
tour
got to come
next year. He's got another tour next year.
All right. Perhaps we could slot into that. Jumping ahead another year to 2012, Porth Call, 24th of February. Karen was on the seafront in Porthcawl at 20 past 11 at night. At first glance, I thought this was a plane. Both me and my husband looked up, and as it started with a pulsating light which was very high up in the air on a very clear night. It appeared to be moving much faster than a plane towards us. It was totally silent, and I could not see any trail behind it. It then slowed down dramatically and came down at an angle which was quite sharp. Out there is an island, what looks to be on the horizon. I have no idea what it's called, but as this thing came in at the left-hand side of it, it got down to just above the water. It looked disc-shaped with like a wide bell on the top. The angle again changed, and then it hit the water and disappeared. So I thought, that's strange, there's no island off Porthcawl, but then I thought, there is an island at low tide, it's called Tusker Rock. It's just sort of east of Porthcawl, just off from Ogmore by Sea. And I looked at the time that she saw it, 20 past 11 on 24th of Feb 2012, and I looked online for a tide table. And sure enough, Tusker Rock would have been visible then because the tide was low. So that's a particularly interesting one because it hit the water and disappeared. It's a USO then. It's one of the rare occurrences, and just near where we live as well, of a UFO going into the sea. And in 1957, there were two policemen in Porthcawl who witnessed a big orange ball coming out of the sea, just to the west of Porthcawl, and going off into the distance towards the Atlantic. Remember I touched on that before, and the Coast Guard said that they'd seen the Aurora Borealis. It often comes out of the sea and goes west. Yeah, orange balls. 5th of December 2012, so we're getting a bit nearer. Near Bridgend. No, I'll skip that one, it's too long. We'll talk about that one. Right. 70th of June 2013, Swansea. John Thornton, at 10 to 6 in the evening, saw a silver ball travelling at very high speed above Swansea University campus. There was no sound or vapour trail. Weather conditions were bright and clear. So what the silver balls now. November 2013, a few months after that one, 7:30 at night. Nigel and Susan Morgan were travelling by car heading east for the M4, passing not far from here, Llangabella. And they were just passing the DVLA, and they saw at 33 degrees elevation on the right a triangular black object displaying 3 white lights. They could not tell if it was moving as they were in a moving car. The object was lying horizontally, and they were viewing it from the underside, from their perspective. And there were no flashing lights. So that's an interesting triangular one just down the road from where we are now. Third of March 2014, Tom James, sitting over there. He was at home in Treborth and was putting the rubbish out just after 7 o'clock. He looked up at the stars and was drawn to a patch of sky towards the northeast. He saw a white light, like a satellite shooting across the sky towards the northwest, but much faster than a satellite. He said it was not a meteorite because it left no trail. He stood there wondering if his eyes were playing tricks, when about a minute later he saw another. This came from the same direction and then suddenly shot back at an acute angle of about 20 degrees, making a V turn, without stopping and shooting back out of sight. He said it was fast and moved at the same speed forwards and backwards. End of July, possibly, in 2014, in Penclouth, a lady was sitting outside her parents' house, up on the hillside above Penclouth, sort of behind the, just before you get to the playing fields. So she's facing north, and all of a sudden 2 silver balls come over the house, one slightly above and below, behind the other, just going shooting straight across the estuary towards Llanelli. No sounds, no flashing lights, just these 2 perfectly silvery, sort of metallic, well-defined edges, solid-looking objects. Right, nearly at the end now. That's all about balls now. I've just got one left now, which is last autumn, October, November last year, 8:15. Jason was driving his wife Karen to work in Cocket from their home in Gorseinon, and he was passing Gorseinon bypass where he goes underneath the bridge at Gangoch, the Gangoch Hospital, and they just came out of the cutting, and on the left hand side they both saw just above the trees on the left, about 20 feet above the trees, 3 large white lights, round ones. Each light was about 4 to 6 feet across, and this whole thing was about 100 foot across. At first they thought it was jumbo jets, but 20, 30 feet that couldn't be. They couldn't see anything behind the lights, but they had the feeling that they were all together on one object rather than 3 separate lights. They couldn't tell if it was moving. If it was moving slowly because they were in a moving vehicle, but unfortunately they couldn't pull in and just stop and have a look. No sound associated with it. So Jason just took his wife to work. He came back about 15 minutes later, and there was nothing there. Nothing there at all. They pass that way every day about the same time, and they've never ever seen anything like that before. There was other traffic on the road, so somebody else must have seen it. Okay, I think that's all the time we've got for that. Next month I'm going to go through a lot of earlier ones, quite spectacular ones, some of them are, because Steve and I and a few of us, we are contacting a lot of witnesses at the moment. They're coming out of the woodwork everywhere.
We did 3 last Friday. Is anybody shocked by about the sightings that are that have been reported? Because that's just a few that he's mentioned there now, and they're just the ones that are reported. So imagine how many there are.
A few weeks ago, over Margam, he was at night, and it looked really wide. When he was low, he was only about 200 feet up, and there was no sound, and he was just moving along. There was a few lights associated with it, and I thought, God, what could that be? So when I got home, I did a bit of research, and I thought, anything from St Athan. And in St Athan, they got self-powered gliders. They take off themselves, they fly around, they switch the engine off, and then they just glide. And this did have navigation lights, which I thought, oh, it must be a plane, but what plane doesn't make a noise? So it was probably a self-powered glider just gliding along, and it was heading towards St Athan's direction from Margam. It was going the right way. So don't assume everything you see in the sky is a spaceship, which I did at first when I saw it.